we'll be going over IRS Notice CP105. This is a tax notice that you might receive from the Internal Revenue Service if they had to make adjustments to IRS Form 730. So what is IRS Form 730? Well, it is the monthly tax return for wagers. So this is not the most common tax form. It's pretty rare, and it's primarily used by taxpayers that are in the business of accepting wagers, conducting betting pools, things of that nature. So if you're required to be registered, you probably know this. If you don't know, but you think you might be, in the area of needing to register, then you can check out the instructions for IRS Form 11C to determine whether or not you need to register. So if you receive this notice, then the IRS clearly believes that there was an adjustment made or that they need to make to your Form 730. And in this case, this is in the area of tax computation and calculation. So we're going to address that in just a moment. What I'd like to do is focus your attention on two spots. First, the upper right hand corner where you'll see the IRS notice number CP105, the tax period that this covers, the notice date, and then the employer ID number and a contact phone number. So I always encourage people to pay particular attention to the notice date because a lot of times action items or due items stem from that notice date. So in this case, there's actually a date specified right here. But sometimes you might see things like, please respond within 30 days of the notice date. Please submit supporting documentation within 60 days, so on and so forth. So always pay attention to the notice date. The second thing that I'll point your attention to is the address. So this should contain your updated taxpayer name and address. If you recently moved, specifically if you moved after filing your income tax return, you should consider updating your address of record in the IRS, in your tax record that the IRS holds. So you can contact the IRS. Your tax record normally is updated with your annual tax return, or you can file IRS Form 8822 or 8822B for business owners to be able to do that. So the reason I encourage people to keep their address up to date is because most taxpayers don't expect IRS notices. So when they come in the mail, you want to make sure that they're not caught up in the mail system and that they go directly to you to maximize the amount of time that you have to be able to respond to the notice. So in this case, we already pointed out tax computation error that the IRS has assessed. So to the right is the billing summary, which contains a breakdown. Taxes owed $9,999.99. Tax payments that were made $99.99, and then the rest of these are penalties and interest. So a failure to pay penalty, a failure to file penalty, interest charges, and so the amount that is due covers the penalties and the interest charges, and also credits the taxpayer for any payments that were made. I'm just taking a look at this real quick, and it still seems like it might be off. So basically, this calculation does not look right. It looks like it's off by about $100. But this is an example, so I imagine that if you receive this notice from the IRS, it'll contain an accurate calculation of their tax assessment. So at the bottom of page 1 is a voucher, a payment voucher that you can cut out. You can send your payment. Make sure you write your check or money order out to the United States Treasury. Write your taxpayer ID number, the tax period, and the form number on your payment so that the IRS can match that up with your tax record. So if you don't agree with the changes, call the IRS phone number that's listed at the top of your form. You can contact the IRS in writing within 60 days of the date of the notice. So I would recommend that you call, even though it might be frustrating. If you don't contact the IRS within 60 days of the notice, then any changes they may have made will not be reversed and you have to pay the additional taxes. So again, that kind of emphasizes my point about making sure that you stay on top of the notice date and that you keep your address updated accordingly. So we'll go down here. It shows at the beginning is tax calculations. It shows payments that were credited to your account. Then there are penalties, and this is a breakdown of the penalties. So a failure to pay penalty, a failure to pay penalty, and a failure to pay penalty. So if you were assessed penalties and you disagree with them, then you definitely should contact the IRS so that you can go over your records. On one of these pages is the contact information, cutout page that you can update the IRS if you so choose. This is a breakdown of how the IRS calculates the failure to file penalty. You can request either a reduction or an abatement of penalties based on extenuating circumstances. So the IRS will take into consideration all the circumstances involved, whether or not there was reasonable cause. They'll make an assessment and let you know in writing whether or not they agree with your explanation or if they disagree. So you can file IRS Form A43. Again, we'll put links in the show notes to the articles and videos we've created about that. Now, the IRS generally cannot abate interest, and you can see how they charge interest. But if they do remove penalties, usually the interest that's associated with those penalties will come off. The interest will not come off of any taxes that were due, even if the penalties are abated. So and keep that in mind. So there's some additional information about how, this collection effort might work if your total balance is $100,000 or greater. You fall into a different category where the IRS pays even more attention to you to try and collect some of that money. So there are additional resources. We're going to click this link just to see what happens. And basically, this kind of shows, the different types of returns that you might receive that CP105 notice on. So now, specifically, that notice was written for IRS Form 730. You can go through the frequently asked questions field to see if there are any questions that you might have had that weren't addressed in the notice. But your best bet probably is to call the IRS at that toll-free number so that you can figure out exactly what you need to do. So again, another reference to, contact us within 10 days of the notice. So another reason to, pay particular attention to your notice date. So again, we'll put links in the show notes to any of the resources that we've created. We have not written an article or produced a video on IRS Form 730, but if that's something that you would like to see in the near future, please hit me up in the comments section. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. You can check out any of our articles simply by going to teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in the name of the IRS form that you're looking for, and odds are pretty high that we've written an article about it. If you like our YouTube videos, then please subscribe to our channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or if there's a topic that you'd like to see in an upcoming video, hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a great day.